first of all, let's begin the drawing with information about the face. So, you probably drew a face that looks something like this. You drew a circle for the face. You drew your eyes. Maybe you forgot the eyebrows. Maybe you put them in. You drew your nose, the mouth, the ears. Maybe you were even so bold as to add a little neck and shoulders. Oops, need some hair. We'll add some hair here. And then you said, uh-oh, something's not right. Well, I can tell you that one of the problems with drawing the face for everyone, just about, is this notion of the proportions. For example, we think the eyes are really important, so we put them up here level with the brain. But that's not where the eyes are located. So let's look at what the real proportions are by using something called a blank. This is what artists use when they set up a portrait. It doesn't matter if they're excellent artists who've been drawing for years. They still want to have that beginning point to be sure that the features of the face and the tilt of the head and so on are in the right place before they begin taking time to draw the details. So a blanket, you can think of it sort of as an egg shape. And I may not be able to draw a perfect oval or egg shape the first time, so with a pencil, you can rather lightly draw an oval shape. And you can go around it a few times until it looks about the shape you want. It doesn't have to be perfect or perfectly symmetrical. Some of these lines you'll be erasing later. They're just to give you the general sense. Now, if you're looking straight at this egg shape, and there was a line which went up and down, it would appear to be straight. So I'm going to try to bisect this with a line this way, and then I'm going to divide it in half the other way, roughly in half. Now, this is going to give me an idea of where to put the various features on the face. We'll begin with the eyes. The space between the eyes is the length of one eye. When you draw these eyes, you're going to make roughly an oval shape, and you're going to leave enough room between them to fit another eye. So we'll just sort of dot that in. There's just enough space here for another eye. In fact, in many cases, there's just enough space for one more eye to fit out on the sides here. That varies depending on the size of the person's face, the width of their face. But roughly, we want to place the eyes so that there is space between them. That's important. And also, look where I put my eyes. They're on that line halfway down the skull, not up here where we think they are. On the average adult, these eyes are going to be halfway down the face. If you notice, you can just feel on your own head that your eyes are halfway from the top of your head down to your chin. Equal distance between here and here. The nose is about halfway, a little bit less than halfway down that remaining distance from the eyes to the chin. And I'm only going to mark that almost halfway with just a small line so I have a rough sense. When I look at the actual person or photograph from which I'm drawing, the nose may be shorter or longer. So this isn't set. It's just to give me a little guideline. Now, there's another thing that we often misunderstand, and that is how wide the mouth is. If you'll notice my little person up here, their mouth isn't very wide. It comes up to about the corner of the eye. Actually, a mouth is so wide that if I was to drop an imaginary line from the center of the eye down, that's how wide the mouth is generally, longer than you think. So, to give myself a rough notion, I'm going to go about a third of the way of my remaining distance, a third of the way from the tip of the nose to the chin. I'll draw a line which is roughly where the mouth is going to be. Again, these lines can be kind of light because you may change them slightly when you look at the actual face. Here's another thing we misunderstand. We think the ears are smaller than they are. Maybe we'd like to have little tiny ears like this character, but your ears go all the way from level with your eyes all the way down to level with either your mouth or the space between your nose and mouth. So on this figure, I'll draw sort of a C shape, like the elongated letter C, from the eye down here somewhere. Now again, it'll depend on the person I'm drawing, but I want to roughly remember that the ears are about that size. There's another reason for marking where the ears are. That's where your neck begins. When your ear, if you feel sort of like the lobe of your ear, Then you can feel your chin too. Open your jaw. Feel your chin there. Okay. Now notice that your neck is also connecting right in there. Your neck does not come from under your chin like we all want it to be. We all draw it that way. Now I have a thin neck, and yet it isn't coming from under here. It's coming from way back here, connecting at the jaw and the ear. So if we don't know who I'm drawing right now, but let's assume that this person's neck will begin here, and it may curve in a little bit if they have a thin neck. If they have a thicker neck, it may come almost straight down. One more common misunderstanding that'll help make your drawings much more accurate. We want to make the shoulders smaller than they are. Now, if you look at my shoulders, you'll notice that you could fit another head's width on each shoulder if I stand up nice and straight. Okay, so there's enough width there for one head here and one head there. So, in this drawing, there isn't even room to show the shoulders. They're going to go right off the page, wherever they are. Again, you would have to look very closely at the person you're drawing or the photograph to see what these relationships are. Now that you've seen how to draw a blank, you're ready to plan your first drawing. It's easier not to try to draw along with the video, but rather to take a break. You can also refer to the guidebook. There we take you step by step through setting up the blank and doing your drawing, and you can do it at your own pace. Now, as we discussed before, we can work from an egg shape. And because the person's looking straight at me, the egg shape will be roughly like this. I just want to take a moment to show you one of the real benefits of working from this system. Suppose the person isn't standing like this, but they've got their head tilted. Suppose they're looking up. Suppose they're at some other completely different angle. And then I want to still have the features in the right place, but it gets a little more complicated. I still use the egg shape, but I might tilt it to the side one way or the other. And then I'm going to look, if the person's looking off to the side, remember this is a rounded form. If they look off to the side, the line that comes down this way might look like this. If they're looking low, the center line would be lower. So these would be my markings. Or if they're looking up and off to the side, these may be my markings. That way I can figure out where the eyes are going to be, where the nose and mouth will be. And they'll still be in the right proportions. One of the big problems that a lot of beginning artists have is the head is tipped like this, and the features are on there like this, straight up and down. And then you say, something's definitely not right here. What's right is when the head tips, the lines tip with it. So this gives us lots of play when we begin to look at the head from different angles. You can think of this balloon as being similar to the blank that you draw on your paper. And I've drawn some lines here to show you what happens when the head moves, tilts, and turns. Notice when I turn the balloon side to side, how that center line is changing. Now if I tip the balloon up, as if the person was tilting their head up, notice how the line curves. Or if the balloon tilts down, like a person looking down, look how the line where the eyes are drawn changes in relationship to the other lines. Now, we all know that a balloon such as this would be destroyed by coming into contact with a sharp object such as this needle. I mean, that we know, or at least that we believe to be true. But let's see what happens. Well, another absolute belief, like the one you might have had about not being able to draw, vanishes. Just like that.